I'm Alex Del Sordo. And we have Jess Eddy. It's Kevin Sauer. Nita DeFrance. Eric Murray. It's Mahe Drysdale. It is Sir Matthew Pinson. Thank you for being here. I'm Alex Del Sordo with Roach Choice, and we are sitting down, and you can see it, there's a lot of people here. We're going to be talking about Brick City rowing in a state that you all know I'm from. So this is a big deal for me. And we have rowers that have been doing this for 4 years. They started at a very early age. And we have someone who's been doing this maybe longer than I have. We'll find out how old Craig is, but he's been doing this a long time. And we're going to be talking about the rise of a new program in Newark, New Jersey, and what it takes to get there. But more importantly, difficult questions that I think a lot of us need answers on. Craig, I know you got your teammates here, but Craig, thank you for doing this with me today.
Of course. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So Craig, you are the co-founder of Brick City Rowing, but in 2011, you started St. Benedict's, a program out of the Jersey area. You guys have found success over the years. My first question for you is, it might be a difficult one. I can count on one hand how many people of color have made rowing their careers since the 90s. How have you been able to do it? Why have you stuck through it all these years?
The kids, first and foremost, they make it worth it. If the kids didn't care, I wouldn't care. So seeing the amount of hard work, dedication, just grit that they bring to the table every single day, and that they have brought to the table every single day for the last decade. And then watching them grow with their parents, that's where it's at for me. I've said that more than one time. So it doesn't feel like work. It never has. It's very rewarding to be a part of their families and to be a mentor. So it's good work. It's good work. So
I'm going to bring in Nestor over here. Nestor is a senior, been rowing for 4 years. Nestor, is Craig a good coach? I'll say it simply. Do you enjoy having Craig as a coach? You've had him for 4 years now.
I do. I think he's one of the best coaches that I've ever had with regards to, my previous years and being in different kind of sports, because I did soccer previously, when I was younger. And, the coaches were okay, but, when I joined rowing and I had Mr. White as a coach, he really made me fully understand, how to improve as an athlete. And it was amazing. He's one of the best coaches I've ever had.
Jaden with a Y. Jaden, another senior, 4 years. Jaden, was it easier to get into the sport because Craig is a man of color? I'll just keep it simple like that. Was it easier for you to join the program and start rowing?
Yes, I feel like it was because of, freshman year, they require you to do a sport. They require you to do a sport. You got to get 2 activity credits at our school. So when I joined the sport, I started looking up, because I'm new to the sport. I'd never heard of rowing in my life. So I'm looking it up, and I just see a lot of white people. I don't see any black people. And when I come to my team, it's a lot of black people. So I'm like, all right, that's different, And I just felt comfortable being around my people. Not saying I wouldn't feel comfortable being around people, but just there with them, progressive white people,
That's a really good point. Now, Craig, let's talk about your past a little bit. So when did you start rowing? How old were you when you found the sport, and where were you when you found it?
I was 17. I was a freshman at William and Mary in Virginia. I had always wanted to row long before I got to college, but I didn't know of any opportunities that were available in New Jersey. I was born in Newark, spent every school that I ever went to was in Newark before college. And then when I got to William and Mary, I saw that it was doable. I swam in high school, so, getting up early was not new to me. And I liked the people that were on the team, and it was accessible. it was accessible. So I just dug in and I stuck with it all 4 years, and I loved it.
And what year was that? How long ago was that?
That was 2004. So I'm
2004.
I'm 34 now.
Okay.
I'm 34 now. I started rowing in 2004. That was I guess my novice year, my first year ever rowing, and I just fell in love.
So I'm 35. I started in '99 because I had access to it. You know, like I knew what the sport was.
Yep.
And you came in. That's okay. First off, the fact that you have 4 athletes with you right now that want to talk about rowing says a lot about your style. When did you decide to make it a career?
I don't. I think I just grew into it. I think is the better way. When I came back to New Jersey, I came back to New Jersey because my dad got lung cancer. He was diagnosed with lung cancer, and I needed to be closer to home at the time. So I moved back home. I just left DC and moved back to New Jersey, and I needed a job, and I started teaching at St. Benedict's. The admissions director at the school kind of ratted me out because there was a kid at the school at the time who was a junior who had spent 2 years rowing at Kearney High School, but transferred to Benedict's and wanted to continue to row. And that kid, his name is Eric Rivera. He essentially made my life a living hell until I started a team at Benedict's, and then the rest is history after that.
So Yamil, I'm always interested to know. I've been interviewing athletes and coaches for now a year and a half, how they found rowing, right? And how the hell did you find rowing? Like, what got you to want to jump into the sport? Craig just said it. He always wanted to be involved, and then it took him till basically his senior or freshman year of college. What made you want to join the program and the team?
Well, I would say that the biggest encounter that I had with rowing that made me want to do it was one day, my mother and I forgot what we were doing, but we were driving over a bridge near Passaic River, and I saw boats rowing on the water, and I thought it was like very interesting, and I thought like I kind of fell in love with the sport as soon as I saw them like row. And at my freshman year at our school, like I've seen that like we had a rowing team, and of course we had to do like an activity requirement. So I started doing rowing, and like the first days were very uncomfortable, but after a while, like I knew that the sport was like for me.
I love that. Now, Jaden, without the why, same question. You know, how did you find the sport, and why did you start rowing as a 13-year-old kid?
So how I like got into the sport, it was actually like pretty like by coincidence. So I saw Mr. White in the hallway one day, and I jokingly asked like, "Yo, Mr. White, I'm gonna join the crew team," and he said, "Just come." He said, "Just come." So I came to practice one day, and it was all like that. So my first experience of learning about rowing was just from being at Benedict's and learning that we have a crew team, because I didn't know like rowing was like even the Olympic sport. I didn't watch the Olympics that much. It's not that big.
Yeah.
But it was like when I found out it was a sport, and Mr. White just saying, "Yeah, I could just come," and I came, and then I just been committed ever since.
I love that answer, Craig. 2011. So you've now experienced the start of 2 programs, right? We're going to get into what Brick City means to the town, but more importantly, I want to know, what are the uphill battles you experience starting a crew team? Forget about diversity. Just how hard is it to start 2 crew teams in the course of like 10 years?
I would say it's almost impossible, but it's one of those things where it's easy when you have great people that you work with and you work for. So a lot of our success is because of our parents and our families. You know, they're cops, teachers, doctors, nurses. You know, they're working blue collar jobs, most of them. You know, and they do whatever it takes to be able to provide for their children. So I mean, they show up. They're calling friends and friends and friends and friends to be able to, help support us in whatever way they can. And then that's reflected in their children. And the kids, bring that same level of dedication and work ethic to practice, and they want to be fast. So I guess that fire to keep it moving and to find whatever is necessary, it's easy to fight for when you're captivated by the people you work for.
Could you identify like maybe one or a couple of the biggest adversities you've experienced in starting these clubs?
Oh, well, I would say space and equipment.
Yep.
Those are the two things that hurt us more than anything. Not having enough equipment hurts. That definitely sets us back because we're not lacking in kids. That's for certain.
So that's the thing that blows my mind. I thought your biggest problem or the biggest hurdle was getting the kids, but that's not the case.
No way. We would have, if we had unlimited equipment and a space big enough for 200, 300 kids, we'd have 200, 300 kids. It's just, what holds us back is that our school is small. So pre-K to 13 or a PG kids, it's 900 kids, 950 kids tops. So the high school is, maybe 500 kids.
Wow.
And, I would say over 10% of the high school rose already, like over 10% of the high school rose already. And we don't have enough boats, and so that was the impetus behind, that was part of the impetus behind wanting to start Brick City, right? Because the school spends an incredible amount of energy and resources fundraising just to keep the school alive. Because St. Benedict's is the only all boys, well, it's not all boys anymore, but it's the only parochial private high school in Newark, in a city of 300,000 people. So, we're the only game in town for that type of education. And we have limited space, the institution itself has limited space and limited resources. So in order to be able to provide for the kids and, put them in a position to be fast, there needs to be an organization dedicated to that one thing, to making sure that we have enough ergs, enough boats, to be able to put the kids in a position for success.
Craig, this is a silly question. I'm going to ask this to a couple of these guys here. Have you ever rowed in a brand new boat before?
Me?
Yes.
Never.
Okay. So I think that's already answered this question. Nestor, have you ever rowed in a brand new boat?
No, to my knowledge, I have not. I thought a boat was new at first, but then I found out that it was used and borrowed. So no.
So the next question is, have you ever played soccer in brand new cleats before?
I have, yes.
Okay. Craig, you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Like the accessibility to our sport is very challenging, right? This equipment costs a lot of money. However, when someone rows in a brand new boat, that experience holds on to you forever. And you're like, oh, that's how rowing is supposed to be. When you're rowing a 20-year-old boat with beat up tracks and shoes and rips and tears and cracks, you treat it differently, right? Craig, am I right on that? Is that
no? That's facts. That's real. That's real.
So then without asking that question, then none of these guys have ever rowed brand new equipment before, but they see their competitors rowing brand new stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, they beat more than half of them who have brand new stuff. So that's fine too.
I just got chills.
So that's good.
Well, it is good, but I want to point out how the challenging aspects of where you are in this country, who you have in your program, like they should be rowing the same kind of boats that everybody else is rowing, right?
Yeah, and exactly. So I mean, that's what we plan to do with Brick City, right? So that there's an entity through which making sure that our kids have the best of everything, right? and they have
Yep.
a space dedicated to them so that they can train the same way that, anyone does, or the best teams in the country, because that's what they want. They want to be the best.
Hell,
So,
even if they're 2-year-old boats, right? There's a difference between
yep.
a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old. I don't know how to word this, Craig. So, if we have to edit this, forgive me here.
Don't
but
say it. Don't be nice. It's fine. Just say it. Just say it. It's all good.
I will then. Great. So, as a black man in this sport, I'm going to ask this to some of these other guys. I want them to think about this: is what have been the most, what experience, or let me rephrase this: what have you experienced to be the most challenging as a person of color in this sport? Like, what have you just, something that happened, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe this can happen to me.
Oh,
What are
with
the
respect to race, or just
rowing, just the
artistic?
rowing, like coming into the sport and being obviously someone that's not the norm that you see at regattas every single weekend.
I would say for me, most people do it the right way, right? It's just like, anyone or any profession. I would say the frustrating thing is dismissiveness, and I think that's one thing. People probably don't even realize they're doing it, but it still happens. So that doesn't make it excusable. Someone who's drunk and beats their spouse probably doesn't realize they're doing it, but that doesn't mean they're not guilty. So I would say the dismissiveness is an issue that, I just let it roll off my back, and that's fine. And then when the kids go out there and they post a faster time than whoever had something to say, it's, I smile and say, good job, coach. And I keep it moving. And then, I really don't know. I guess what helps me work and do the work is, like I said before, just putting the horse blinders on and paying attention to the kids. What I can't stand is when people do that kind of stuff to the kids. Like when I'm around, that sets me off. So for instance,
So let me ask this to Jaden. Jaden with a Y. You've raced. You've been doing this for 4 years. This idea of dismissiveness, right? Not even idea. This obvious thing, right? Have you experienced that with competitors in other boats? Have you experienced this, like, oh, you know what? We're going to crush them.
Yeah. So actually happened this year. We were rowing up to the. Everybody here was in the boat. They were in the boat. We were rowing up to the. We're running up to the start. We're sitting ready, side by side. We hear other boats talking about us. We hear. They act like they don't think we hear, but we hear. They're like, yo, they better not beat us. And if they beat us, I want my fee. And we're like if they beat us, you better not let them beat us. Laughing at us, like we all hear it. We hear it, and that's actually what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going, because I know that they don't expect people like us to do stuff like that. So that's what keeps me going. So.
How about Jaden without the Y over here? You just shook your head. You're like, yeah. Is that painful to hear? Is that like something that guts you a little bit? Or do you say, fuck off, I'm going to crush you? Like, how do you feel when you hear that in another boat?
For me, I'm just like, it just allows me to when I hear it, it just allows me to refocus back into what I'm about to do and what I'm doing in the boat. Like I just take it and then I just refocus it back into what I'm doing. I just use that as a further push to make sure I'm doing the best I can do, so I can give these people a run when we're racing.
Yeah, listen, guys, I've never experienced that, and I can't even pretend to tell you what I think that means, right? Like I can't live that. Yamil, I just want to get this right. It's
Yamil.
Sorry, Yamil.
It's all good.
Hard A. Yamil. You might be internalizing this, but do people look at you differently at a regatta? When you're walking down with the boat or when you're walking around, do people look at you differently? Because I would imagine that's the same feeling as hearing someone say something to you.
Well, when we're walking down on the boat, I feel like we're getting looked at. So I kind of try not to look at them or try to not to pay attention to them. I kind of want to focus on the boat with my teammates, and but sometimes I'll feel like an uncomfortable stare, and I'll think that they're thinking like, what are they doing here? And I would say that for me, I definitely get these thoughts like, am I supposed to, like, I'm a person of color in front of all these other people, and like, do I belong here? And then I remember that my coach always tells me that we have to show them that we belong here and that we deserve to be here and to race with them.
Craig, you've built very intelligent young men. This is ridiculous. Like, I was not expecting some of these answers. I asked my wife for this one. I asked, hey, can you help me with some questions? And she came up with this one because, as I'm a parent, I have 3 kids, right? And my daughter played baseball this year. And I had to have a sit down with her. She played with boys. She was the only girl. And I had to have a conversation with her that I was not prepared to have. She said, why am I the only girl here? And it was this setting expectations of what to expect, right? And you know what I'm talking about with this. So how do you manage expectations? What do you say to these athletes as they enter their first regatta or their first time being in front of a sport that's majority white? Like, what are the expectations you set as a coach?
Well, I don't lie. That's something that I go out of my way not to do. So I essentially say something to the effect of, imagine the worst, and there's a chance that that will happen to you while you are out and about at a regatta, a race. So I think if the kids are in a position to kind of brace themselves and they know that there's a chance that it's coming, that someone will use an inappropriate word, or a ref will yell at them while they're at the start, but not say anything to anyone else. One of the kids from another team will make fun of the way they're dressed or the way they look. I tell them the truth. From the door. They're freshmen, green, 13-year-olds. This is probably going to happen to you. Deal with it.
Deal with it. Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that, as an educator, I mean, not just as an educator, mentor, parent, whatever you want to call it, we're not in a position to coddle our children. We want to make sure that they can survive when we're not here and when we're not around, and making sure that the kids are prepared for that, is really important. And it's not to say that all white people are bad, right? It's there's a chance that this could happen to you, and you need to know it's coming, and and this is the appropriate way to respond. And I guess, like, if you're talking about standards and expectations, we keep it simple, right? We are here to be fast. And that's the ultimate goal. How do we get faster? And what are you responsible for, you, the student, to help us do that? I'm responsible for equipment, for making sure that you're safe, for communicating with your parents, to making sure the program has enough money. That's my responsibility. Your responsibility as a student is to add value to the team every single day, to show up, be present, and help bring out the best in yourself and the people that you compete with. And so long as you have the right attitude, and so long as you're adding value to the team every single day, and so long as growth is ever present in your mind, whether it's technical or dropping the 2K or the 6K, then everything else will be okay. Everything else will be fine.
Jaden with a Y, have you experienced this level of coaching, this level of commitment of excellence? Because Craig's in it. Most coaches in our sport of rowing that we all share are in it less about the victories and more about the values instilled on individuals for the future, right? Like, we care more about, as coaches, that person impacts the future of our society. Have you experienced that in other sports that you've done at an early age?
Yeah. Before I came to Benedict, I played football my whole life, right? I played football my whole life up until ninth grade to stop ninth grade fall. And the coach I had him my whole life. And basically it was all about winning, and I that's how I always thought it's supposed to be. Like, it's all about winning. This is what you get out of it. You win, you win, you win, you win. And I come to Benedict and I Coach White, and it's like he's teaching me things that I have to know for the rest of my life, like time management, stuff that's going to happen in real life. So I've never had a coach like that, and it's taught me things differently. I see things differently now. So no, I've never had a coach like that, but to him.
And Nestor, soccer, I'm ignorant to your sports. I played soccer, but I wasn't good at it, right? And rowers row for a reason, right? Some of us row because we're just awful at other sports. Have you ever had a coach, a mentor like Craig in other sports that you've done at an early age?
No, I can't say I have. With soccer, I feel most of the coaches, again, really just cared about winning, like how many goals we scored. Did we beat the other team? And I didn't really like that. I felt like the coaches weren't really focusing on me as an athlete, like how can I improve? And this also happened. I did 1 year of basketball, and the coach, all he cared about was just winning. I rarely got any play time. He would only put like the best people on the court, so we would win. And half of the season I was sitting on the bench, and I never went back to basketball. So yeah.
Craig, you've experienced this in your life. Like, rowing provides activity for everybody. Like, as coaches, we never want a kid sitting out. I mean, fair statement at Brick City and St. Benedict's.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold, right? I think, and it goes back to like the crippling of kids. So what we work very hard to really make sure that we're finding an appropriate balance between kids being involved and that competitiveness, right? Mm-hmm. So what we don't allow is for if a kid's coming to the program and we're demanding that they grow and they work on themselves. So if your attitude's not changing, if you're not completing your workouts, if you're not if you're not adding value, right? That's why I said it earlier, right? If you're not pushing yourself to improve, then the participation isn't enough, right? It's just like, leave and go find something else. So I think especially for young people of color, I think you have to do both, right? And it is doable. Hell, for any kid, you should really be doing both, right? It's are you grown, right? Is your body physically more fit in December than you were when you first started practice in August, right? Have you grown? And if you're not growing, then I think, we talk about like millennials get made fun of all the time, right? About like just doing stuff just to do it and not really paying attention to detail and that kind of stuff, right? So for the kids, that's where it's at for us. It's not just about participating, right? We want our kids to beat St. Joe's in time, and we'll get there, right? We'll get there. And like, that's what we want. We also want them to be on honor roll and have excellent grades. We also want them to be leaders in the school. We literally want everything. We want them to be the best, period.
I don't know how to phrase this. So, and it's not a sensitive subject. I just don't know how to phrase this question yet. So as an educator, Craig, you can help me here.
Sure.
Middle of 2020, there was this big push for diversity in our sport, right? It was obvious. It was everywhere. We always wanted it. And then I've been around programs that started diversity in sports, for our sport, rowing, but I never got the sense that they did it because they want to win. Like, programs around the country did it because they just wanted to add Black kids to the team.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate statement here? Like,
I can't, because I don't want to get in trouble. I will speak to the sentiment though. I don't want to make enemies, but what I will say is that's also a form of dismissiveness, right?
Yes.
It's You know, if I were on Fox News, I would say, or something that was like super conservative, I would say it's that like very liberal, like, you know, just like participating is enough. You know, look at these kids out there. Let me put them on the brochure. You know, look how great they are. You know, they're not, you know, hurting each other. They're doing this nice sport, but are they fast? Right? Are they better? You know, are these kids putting themselves in a position to be successful and to be excellent? And I think that's the issue, right? It's like what standard are you holding these kids to? I was on a DEI call a couple of months ago, and someone was talking about practices, like during the year, during the competitive season. They're like, well, what happens if a kid has a job or they have something to do after school? You know, we try to like, you know, make it so that, you know, they can come when they want to. It's just like, what? You know, it's just like, in what professional setting is that standard okay? Hey, boss, you know, I've got other stuff to do, so I'm going to come like 2-3 days a week, and, you know, I'll fit it into my schedule whenever, and, you know, and then, you know, whatever. It's all good. But I've had kids come up to me and try to get away with that. And my response is what you would imagine my response is. It's just like, okay, that's great. You can do whatever you want, but you're not going to be a part of this team. It's like, if you want to be here, you need to choose, right? Because that's life. We all have to make choices. We all have to make decisions. You need to choose because you can't do everything.
Let me ask that question to Yamil. Yamil, was that question, that moment hard for you to make that decision to say, I'm going to be fast in rowing. I'm going to make this my focus? I mean, you've been doing it for 4 years, right?
Well, I think me as a person, I'm very competitive. I think rowing as a sport is very competitive. So to make that decision to like say I want to be faster, it's like easier said than done because you have to put so much like energy and commitment into getting faster. And for me, I feel like the push is like trying to um trying to just be faster than everyone basically.
Jaden with a Y. I kind of saw you kind of move there when I asked that question. Was that a hard decision to make when you were 13 to say, I'm going to make that competitive?
So, it was for me, it was a hard decision. It was a hard decision to move on, from football to rowing, and then for me to go into the competitiveness of rowing sophomore year, because like I wasn't really competitive freshman year. So for me to go into the competitiveness sophomore year, I had to give up what I wanted. I wanted to wrestle in the winter, and I had to get up to erg all winter, and it was pretty much worth it because once we erged in the winter, all our erg scores got faster. You know, we saw a drop, and that's where we all took off as a team.
What's your 2K? What's your 2K?
Don't
be embarrassed.
627, 136.
Craig, not what I expected to hear. Like,
yeah, he's going to Jaden's going to the high performance camp at ODP in 2 weeks.
Yo, I mean, you got juice, dude. How big are you? What's your height, weight? How big are you?
6'2", 230.
230. All right, you're a beast. Jaden, the other Jaden. Jaden, I've wanted to ask this to a lot of people. So my shop here, where I'm recording this, is in West Baltimore. I am in the middle of the ghetto, and it's people around here in Baltimore treat this very differently. They choose not to drive around here. I've made it my home, and I support a lot of people in this community. We're all friends. And I ask them sometimes, how can I get you to a boathouse and row? They don't know what rowing is. It's literally 10 minutes from their house. So Jaden, how do we get more people of color to a boathouse and know what rowing is when they're 12 and 13 years old?
I feel as though it's about letting them know the opportunity exists. Like before I came to Benedict, I didn't think rowing in high school existed. I thought that was just like an Olympic sport, and it was in college. I didn't think it was open to kids my age, like middle schoolers. Like people would start rowing in middle school. I didn't even know it was open to middle schoolers. So I feel like letting the opportunity be known that yes, you can come and row in the 7th and 8th grade and start rowing your freshman year of high school. So I feel as though letting the opportunity be known that it does exist and it's open to you.
Have you ever convinced your friends outside of rowing to join the crew team?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you say to them? How do you convince them to row?
It's like what we already have here, like on the Benedict's team is like it's a great team environment. Like we push everyone to be like well academically, and this is something that like it attracts a lot of people, like how we push everyone to be better academically. So some of the guys who aren't performing well academically, I say come to the team. You're already a hard worker in the sport that you do, so I know you're going to work hard here, but also being on the team is going to allow you to perform better in the classroom, which is going to allow for more opportunities once you graduate. So allowing people, getting people on our team, especially at Benedict's, is like it's really easy because of our team environment, our atmosphere that we have.
If you had, shit, this is a tough question, man. But you know what, Craig, you told me I can ask these questions, right? Jaden, if you had a white head coach, do you think that you'd be rowing right now?
Uh, uh, I don't think so, because I feel like that the relationship, like I barely knew Mr. White my freshman year, right? So, and Mr. White is he was the head of all freshmen, so I knew who he was. So I was like, I was gonna come and make a joke with Mr. White, like, yeah, Mr. White, I'm gonna join the crew team. And I don't think I would have had that same thing with a white coach, because just because of that relationship. Like me and Mr. White both we're both from Irvington. I'm catching the same buses that Mr. White caught. So it's like that connection there already. It allows me to come up to Mr. White and just engage that way.
Nestor, same question. If Craig White was a white male, would you be rowing today?
I feel like I would be rowing, but I also feel like it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
Like Jaden without the Y said, the connection that we all formed with Mr. White is something very special, and no one can like take that away from us. Like it's something that we all hold very special in our hearts, and it kind of what we hold, it kind of continues us to continue rowing, if that makes sense.
Oh, listen, you're very well spoken, and that makes perfect sense, right? Like you do something because you see someone similar to you doing it, right? Like plain and simple, right? You see someone that you can relate to, and that's the impetus of our sport, is that there's not a lot of professionals. I said this in the very beginning. On one hand, I can say how many people have made it a career focus, people of color. And Craig, I know you know what I'm talking about. Like there's less than 5 people. Craig, explain to us. We're gonna slowly wrap this up, because this is fantastic. But what is Brick City Rowing, right? Because there's a difference. We're talking about St. Benedict's, but describe to us and to the audience, what is Brick City Rowing?
And I said this, in our some media that we have that's out there. It's opportunity, right? And that goes back to what Jaden without the Y was saying a few seconds ago about knowing you have the opportunity, right? And we want, I guess if half the city is under the age of 18, we want the 150,000 kids that are in Newark, to know that they have this opportunity if they want to take it and if they're willing to commit to it, So that's where it's at. That's where it's at. It's about having that opportunity available for our kids in our city. And that's all there. That's the craziest part about it, right? The river is literally, it's right there.
So with the opportunity, it is a club sport that will row and train and race at what level?
So initially the desire is to use the club as a conduit to bring middle school kids into the sport. St. Benedict's right now is the only high school in Newark that has access to it. So the middle school kids are step one. So that any middle
I'm
school.
Alex Del Sordo.
So that, just like you started in middle school, you
Eric
started
Murray,
in 99,
Yep.
so that any kid who's, in the city, who's in middle school, can have access to do something after school. From there, the goal is to help use maybe some of our alumni to help start some teams or draw kids from teams at other high schools to the club as well, who will also train and compete with our kids at St. Benedict's. So in the winter, we'll be able to have one program, one team through Brick City Rowing that will train and go to Crash Bees and compete that way, and to do the same in the summer. And possibly in the fall. I don't know any specifics yet because that depends on conversations with athletic directors and other things that we haven't got to just yet. But in terms of the level, at the highest level.
Highest level. So then what do you mark as success in the next, say, 3 years? Like what are like the monumental milestone goals you're looking for the next 3 years?
We have a dock in Newark. That's ours. That's not co-opted by, someone else. That's for our kids from the city of Newark and the surrounding towns. We have the space, the land that's associated with the dock, and we've got that. And we've got a club program running in the winter and like year round, essentially, that enables us to like fill up those gaps so that we can operate year round. Those are all huge wins in the next 2 years. Those things happen, then we're in a very, very, very good spot. A dock and a space.
And equipment, obviously.
And equipment, yeah, that comes along with it.
And then coaches and victories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go round robin with these boys here, and I'm going to ask you one last question, Craig.
Shoot.
Nestor, do you have desires and plans to row in college?
I do, 100%. The colleges that I'm looking at, because I want to study physical therapy in college, and I want to go to a college that has a really good physical therapy program. And I'm also going to look at colleges that have that program and where I can row. So it's, kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Are there a couple schools that you're really interested in? Here's your chance. Say it.
Right now, University of Delaware is one of them, and Rutgers, New Brunswick. I believe those two that I could think of right now that I'm interested in.
I don't want to toot the horn too loudly, but I think Craig will tell you we have a lot of reach out there, and there are a lot of people that watch and listen to this podcast. So we as an organization, Rowers Choice, we want to support every kid in rowing. Doesn't matter where they come from. So if you want to go to University of Delaware, I got 20 guys that went there, and I know all the coaching staff that we could say, hey, talk to Nestor and let Nestor ask you questions about the school, right? Not just about the program, but about the school. So I love it. University of Delaware, Rutgers, awesome. Jaden with a Y. You're going to development camp, so you obviously want to keep doing this for your future, going 627. Do you have visions and goals of going to college, and where do you want to go?
I'm keeping my options open right now. I'm not sure if I can talk about it, but I have been speaking to college coaches. I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but I've been speaking to college coaches. College coaches is quite a few, but yeah. And
your answer is yes. You want to go. You want to row in college.
Yeah. And I do plan on. I'm a junior right now. I'm about to be a senior next year in the fall. I do plan on like making the national team. I want to make the junior national team. I want to make one of the boats, and then eventually make the U23 national team. It'll eventually make an Olympic team or something like that. That's the long-term goal. So.
Holy hell. Oh my God. Jaden without the Y. Same question. Do you have visions and goals of rowing in college?
Yeah, because me and Jaden with the Y, like we're super close. So we're always talking about college, and so I'm probably gonna like end up rowing with Jaden with the Y. We're so close, and like he's like, yo, we should really come row together. We could be buddies from high school rowing in college together. So I'm probably gonna end up rowing. It's almost certain by now, but yes, I'm gonna row.
I'll tell you something funny. I rode with the same guy for 8 straight years, Joe DeLeo. He's my best friend. Everyone knows it. I'm actually wearing his shirt, Leo Training. And that experience, rowing with someone that you have significant history with, Craig will tell you, it can't be beaten. Yamil, last question to you, man. Same thing. Do you have a vision of going to college and rowing in college?
I do. I kind of decided this like last year. I wasn't very committed to the sport, but like with the new year, me as a junior, I love this sport, and I want to do it in college, and I kind of want to like row with my the people on my boat because like we've been talking about it too, like we want to row or go to a college together and row. Like I feel like that would be like a dream come true to row with people that came with me from Benedict's, and yeah.
I love that answer.
So it sounds like the college coaches have to take at least two. They're
I know,
asking
I'm going to say it's a
package deal.
Unfortunately. Craig, this is the last question, and I want I go, be as specific as you want to be. What do you need from the rowing community and the community of Newark to make the goal of the dock and the space and the boathouse and the equipment happen? What do you need from us? What do you need from everyone listening and tuning in on this?
If the world can squeeze together essentially $500,000, that's probably what it's going to take to get we want a 300-foot dock that's big enough so that we can host races and have like community events. We're bidding it out right now. So we've had a couple of conversations with a couple of fabricators, a couple of companies who make them. The dock itself is somewhere between 275 and as much as 4, once you do the permitting and the transportation, all that jazz. And then equipment. And then, the city, I think the city, needs to see that people give a damn, quite frankly. And we can raise this money and we can make it happen. And we can generate enough support to be able to make this real. Then, I'm sure that our municipal leaders, how could you not be behind something this positive? That's going to provide this many opportunities for everyone at our home. So I think that generating that support, share it, tell your friends, every little bit counts to be able to get us there. And then once we're started, people can see the magic, and then more will come. I don't doubt it.
Right? Like it sounds ridiculous, but it's an easy sell when you hear it from the athletes. Craig, this is different. What we just did today is much different than anything I've seen out there in our sport. We heard it from 16, 17-year-old kids, and it's obvious rowing and you have changed their lives. So guys, we're wrapped up here. Thank you so much for taking the hour here to record this. This is going to get out to the masses, and hearing the stories is the most important thing. Craig, thank you so much for being here and having this great conversation with me today.
No, thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
See you, everybody.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Now that's it. Now we're going to wrap it up here at Rower's Choice. If you want to support Brick City Rowing, contact us. We're going to be putting here in this podcast and in the audio and the visual way to connect with Craig and the rest of the athletes here at Brick City. And that they have our support. So we're going to hopefully see them win a lot of races. And Jaden with a Y, I'll be cheering from afar as you prepare yourself for the development camp. That's hard. And coaches out there, you get 2 Jadens. That's how that works. Maybe Yamil as well. Package deal. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And Alex Delsford here at Rower's Choice.